It was a quiet afternoon on the outskirts of town, the kind of day when even the wind seemed tired. But suddenly, that calm was broken by the sound of soft, frantic footsteps on the gravel road. A little girl, no older than 7, came running, barefoot, her tiny face smeared with tears and dust. Her pink dress, once bright and clean, was now torn at the shoulder. Her chest heaved as she ran, clutching a small teddy bear missing one eye. Behind her, in the distance, echoed faint shouts, angry, cruel, and terrifying. They were the kind of sounds no child should ever have to hear. Her mother's voice, weak, trembling, begging, was fading into the air. The girl stumbled once, scraping her knee, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. Her mama needed her. As she reached the end of the road, she saw them. A group of bikers stood near a row of roaring motorcycles, their black leather jackets marked with the bold insignia, Hell's Angels. Their laughter was loud, their presence intimidating. They looked like men who could face fire without flinching. To anyone else, they were the last people a scared little girl would approach. But she had no one else. Her legs wobbled as she slowed down, sobbing uncontrollably. The bikers noticed her, this small, fragile figure running toward them, her voice breaking the noise around. One of them turned off his engine and frowned. The little girl stopped right in front of them, her voice trembling as she cried out, "Please! They're hurting my mama!" The laughter stopped. Silence. Every eye turned toward her. Her tears fell fast, each word coming out between sobs. "My stepdad, he's hurting her again. I tried to stop him. I tried, but he pushed me and locked me out." She held her teddy bear tight, her hands shaking. "Please, you have big bikes, you can go fast. Please help her before he hurts her more." For a long second, no one spoke. The leader, a tall, broad man with a thick beard and a scar running down his cheek, crouched to her level. His name was Rex. Despite his fierce look, his eyes softened as he saw the fear in hers. He gently took off his sunglasses and said quietly, "Hey, kiddo, what's your name?" "Lily," she whispered. Rex nodded slowly. "All right, Lily, show us where your mama is." Something in his voice, steady, protective, certain, made her trust him instantly. She pointed back down the road, toward a small house half hidden behind trees. Without another word, Rex stood up and turned to his brothers. "Gear up," he said in a low voice. "We've got a job to do." Engines started one by one, the deep rumble filling the air like thunder. Lily climbed onto Rex's bike, her small hands clutching the leather vest on his back. As they roared toward her home, the wind dried her tears, but her heart still pounded with fear and a flicker of hope. For the first time in her young life, she wasn't running away from danger. She was riding toward it, with angels on wheels. The engines roared like thunder as the Hell's Angels followed little Lily's directions through the dusty road. The sound was fierce, commanding, and yet beneath all that power was something rare, a mission born out of kindness. Rex rode at the front, his massive frame shielding Lily from the wind. Her tiny arms were wrapped tightly around his vest, her face pressed against the rough leather that smelled of oil and dust. Every bump on the road made her flinch, but she didn't cry this time. Somehow, she felt safe. These men the town whispered about in fear, were now her only hope. The rest of the bikers, a dozen of them, rode in silence. Their tattoos, scars, and steel chains told stories of battles fought on the streets, but none of that compared to what they were about to face now, a battle for a woman's dignity and a child's safety. When they reached the edge of town, Rex slowed down, his eyes narrowing as Lily pointed to a small, beaten-down house with peeling paint and broken windows. There was a car in the driveway, its front door wide open. From inside, muffled shouting echoed, a man's voice booming with rage, followed by a woman's desperate cry. Rex clenched his jaw. He looked at his crew and said quietly, "Nobody hurts a woman while we breathe. You hear me? They all nodded, eyes hard with determination. Before going in, Rex turned to Lily. "Stay here, sweetheart. We're gonna fix this, all right?" Lily's lip trembled, but she nodded bravely. "Please don't let him hurt her anymore." Rex gave her a reassuring smile and gently patted her head. Then he handed her his black bandana. "Hold on to this, little angel. It means you've got family now." With that, he turned toward the house. The rest followed, big boots hitting the ground, heavy and sure. They didn't shout or make a scene. They didn't break down the door. They simply walked in, and the shouting inside stopped instantly. The man inside froze when he saw them. He was tall, drunk, and angry, but his confidence evaporated the moment he saw a wall of leather and muscle standing before him. The woman, bruised and shaking, sat on the floor clutching her side. Rex stepped forward slowly, his voice calm but cold. "You the man who thinks hitting a woman makes him tough?" The man tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. Rex didn't touch him, he didn't have to. His presence alone was enough. "You ever lay a finger on her again," Rex said, stepping closer, "and you'll answer to all of us." The house went silent. The man backed away, mumbling apologies. Rex turned toward the woman, offering his hand. "You're safe now, ma'am. He won't touch you again." Tears welled up in her eyes as she took his hand, whispering, thank you so much." Outside, Lily waited nervously. When Rex stepped out, she ran to him and hugged his leg tightly. "Is Mama okay?" Rex looked down at her, a faint smile touching his rough features. "Yeah, kiddo. Your Mama's okay now." And for that moment, the world stood still. The town's most feared men had shown the purest form of mercy, the kind that didn't need words, only action. The small, broken house stood trembling in the silence that followed. The air was thick with tension, dust swirling in the sunlight that slipped through cracked window panes. Inside, the man who had moments ago been roaring in drunken rage now stood frozen, his confidence stripped bare in front of a dozen Hell's Angels whose presence filled the tiny room like a storm ready to break. Rex, their leader, stepped forward. The wooden floor creaked under his heavy boots. Behind him, the rest of the bikers stood still, arms crossed, faces unreadable. Their tattoos and leather jackets gleamed under the dim light, their silence louder than any threat. The man, Jim, stumbled back toward the wall, his bottle of cheap liquor falling from his hand and shattering across the floor. What do you want?" he stammered, trying to sound brave but failing miserably. Rex didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. He took one slow step closer, his eyes fixed on Jim. "I want you to listen," he said, his voice deep and calm, the kind of calm that carried danger. "You touch that woman again, you scare that little girl again, and I swear, every road you drive on, every corner you turn, you'll see us there waiting." Jim swallowed hard. "You can't threaten me." Rex cut him off, slamming his hand against the wall beside Jim's head. The sound was like a gunshot in the silence. "That's not a threat," he growled. "That's a promise." The man's face turned pale. His hands trembled. He tried to look away, but Rex's eyes held him still. Behind him, one of the bikers picked up a framed photo from the dusty table, a picture of the woman and Lily smiling together, taken years ago before the bruises and tears. The biker looked at it, then at Jim, and shook his head slowly. "How do you hurt someone who smiles like that?" he muttered. The woman, sitting in the corner clutching a towel to her bleeding lip, whispered, "Please, don't hurt him. Just make him leave." Rex turned to her, his tone softening immediately. "Ma'am, no one here's gonna hurt him. We don't need to. Men like him destroy themselves." He looked back at Jim, who was now shaking, tears of shame mixing with anger. "You're gonna walk out of this house, and you're never coming back," Rex said quietly. "If you do, then we'll come looking for you. And trust me, you won't like what happens next." Jim nodded quickly, stumbling toward the door. He pushed past the bikers, his face red and humiliated, and disappeared into the blinding sunlight outside. Rex turned back to the woman. "You're safe now," he said simply. "You and your little girl." The woman began to cry, softly at first, then uncontrollably. Years of fear poured out all at once. Rex reached into his jacket and handed her a folded piece of paper. "This is the address of a shelter we help run," he said gently. "They'll take care of you until you get back on your feet." When they walked outside, Lily ran straight into her mother's arms, sobbing. The bikers watched quietly, some with their heads bowed, others blinking hard to hide their emotions. And in that moment, on a dusty road where pain once ruled, justice stood tall, without a single punch thrown. The sun was setting now, painting the horizon in soft shades of orange and gold. The air, once filled with the sounds of anger and chaos, had grown still, peaceful for the first time in a long while. Outside the small, battered house, little Lily stood in her mother's arms, trembling not from fear anymore, but from the release of it. Her tiny fingers clutched the black bandana Rex had given her, as if it were the most precious thing in the world. The bikers stood nearby, engines off, helmets in hand. For men known as rebels, outlaws, and fighters, the silence was something sacred. None of them spoke. They didn't need to. What they had done spoke louder than any words ever could. Rex knelt in front of Lily again, his rough voice softening. "Hey, little angel," he said, a faint smile curling under his beard. "Your mama's safe now. You did good. Real good." Lily wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "You came for us, even though you didn't know us," she said quietly. Rex nodded. "Doesn't matter if we knew you. When someone cries for help, we listen. That's what real strength is, protecting, not hurting." Her mother stepped forward, her eyes red and tired but full of gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "Everyone in this town looks at you men with fear, but today, you saved our lives." Rex shook his head. "You don't owe us a thing, ma'am. Just promise me you'll never go back to him. Start fresh. You and your girl deserve better." She nodded, tears falling again, but this time they were tears of relief. Rex stood and turned to his crew. "Let's go, boys," he said softly. Before leaving, he reached into his pocket and handed Lily a small silver pin, a tiny angel with wings spread wide. "Keep this with you," he told her. "Whenever you're scared, remember, there are angels everywhere. Some just ride motorcycles." Lily smiled for the first time that day, a small, shy smile that melted even the toughest hearts among the group. As the bikers mounted their motorcycles, the engines came alive once again, growling like distant thunder. Neighbors peeked from their windows, drawn by the sound. They had always feared the Hells Angels, men with leather jackets, loud bikes, and darker rumors. But today, they saw something else entirely. They saw honor in its truest form. Rex gave one final nod to the mother and child before rolling away. The little girl waved the bandana in the air as the bikes disappeared down the road, dust rising behind them like a trail of light fading into the sunset. When the sound finally died away, Lily turned to her mother. "Mama," she said softly, "they were angels, weren't they?" Her mother smiled through her tears. "Yes, baby," she whispered, hugging her close. "Angels don't always have wings. Sometimes, they ride Harleys." And that night, as the town settled into silence, word of what happened spread from one porch to another. Everyone spoke of the little girl's courage, and the day the Hells Angels showed the world that even the toughest hearts can hold the greatest compassion. It was a story no one would forget, a story of fear turned into faith, of strangers becoming saviors, and of love roaring louder than hate.